Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do is take a look at a couple German watches. One is by a company called Sinn and the other is by Damasko. I'm wearing my German watch, or one of my German watches, my Langenheim Frederick II. And so anyway, we'll be looking at German watches. We're also going to be looking at a lot of Swiss movements too. German watch, German movement. These are a mix. Okay, let's start off. I wanted to look at some of the more informal watches by these two companies. On the first ones I want to look at are the chronographs. The Sinn is called the 103 SAG. I love these names, easy to remember. And the chronograph is by Concepto. It's called the Concepto C99001. Now, Concepto is run by a guy by, last name is Jacques, I think it's Valjean, something like that, but I'm not positive about the name. He is the son of, I think it's Jean-Pierre Jacques, who used to have a company called Jacques. In fact, this watch has a Jacques 736 movement in it, and so what happened, as you may or may not know, Jacques got into some major trouble and had to get out of the watchmaking world. But his son didn't, and his son is started up a company in the same town in Schudefons, Switzerland, and the company's name is Concepto. So that becomes important. I'll mention something about that in a bit. Now, Damasko their movement is by sort of a famous tried and true chronograph called the Valjoux 7750. This is, of course, an ETA. Now, one of the reason that the Concepto movement chronograph and the Sinn is important, ETA, or actually Swatch, has said none of the ETA movements are going to be available to anybody outside of Swatch. And so there's a number of different options that watch companies have. One is obviously to find another company that makes movements that they can adapt to their watches. A big one is Salida, and the other option is to make them yourself, which is fairly expensive venture, but it's sort of interesting in looking at these two brands, what they've done. Now, I would imagine the Valjoux and any of the ETA in either one of these watches is something that's sort of left over as stock. Anyway, the two chronographs, the big differences, not with these two, but I've seen them. It seems that Damasko's prices are more affordable. Not saying anything about the quality one way or the other, but just in sheer prices. These two are fairly close to one another, and they're both, they're good standard chronographs. Now, another watch I wanted to talk about is what I call a casual watch. Now, they're not exactly office watches, but they're something else. They're just sort of casual watches. They could be used as office watches in an informal, you're working at a high-tech place where they don't care unless they expect a smartwatch. But these are a couple of informal watches I like by both of them. Now, the one by Sinn is a special edition hunter's watch, and there's a little green background with a leaf on it, but it's essentially a three-hand watch, automatic with an ETA 2892A2, which is a very good movement. We're doing making a watch using an ETA 2892, and it's 2350. Now, when you see a watch for around that price, with an ETA in it, it's, that's okay. That sounds about right. And that's the other thing, too. Let me say this right off the bat before I forget. Both Sinn and Damasko are totally honest about their movements. They have no idea how important that is, I think, to a watch collector, because you know what you're paying for. These companies that use these phony baloney names, I have no time for at all. Now, the other thing is, I think all of Damasko's and some of Sinn's watches are made with what they call German submarine steel. I'm not exactly sure what that is. It's simply a type of steel. I guess they use it on subs, and they want their watches to appear really tough, so that's probably part of it. But now the Damasko, and this is important, they have a caliber called the A26-2 here. And they have another one called the A26-1. They're automatic movements. And the 2 has a date and sort of put it on a date disc, and the 1 has no date on it. But in looking at these two watches, the Hunter by Sinn and the what's called the DK 32 Ocean by Damasko, you have, as far as I can tell, fairly equivalent watches. I like green better, so I might lean toward the Sinn a little more. And the Sinn is a good deal bigger. The Damasko is 39 millimeters, which is a size. Those two watches are within the general sort of bailiwick. For a lot of people, that 43 is going to be a little big. And even some, the 39 might be a little small, but for casual watches, they're fairly equivalent, I think, on a lot of things, except for the price. You're getting to some major differences on some of these. Now, in looking at divers, I like both of their divers. I really like them. I'm not, for this reason, being a desk diver myself, I'm a diver. I'm not going diving anywhere, but these are the kind, both of these, I think I'd have no problem if I, went and took a scuba class and hopped in the water, or just going swimming with them. They both are very much set up for that. The models that I'm showing here both have rubber straps, which of course would be ideal for that. But I mean, if you want to go swimming or something and you got to be someplace at a certain time, I think either one of these would be fine. Now, here's an interesting thing about them. The Damasko has a 2824, ETA 2824 movement, and the Sinn has a SW, Sellita SW 200-1. The 200-1 is a clone of the ETA 2824. Now, when I say it's a clone, at some point, ETA was really under the gun. They couldn't produce enough movements, and so they, under license, they had Sellita make movements that were the ones that were very popular, like the 2824. Excuse me. Anyway, so both of these watches are, to me, sort of cool. I like them both. And again, it's to be a matter of style in terms of what you like. The Damasko, again, has submarine steel. Most of the materials in the Damasko are submarine steel. Some in the Sinn are also. But they're almost the same size. One's 44 millimeter, the other one's 23. But two very, very nice, very cool diving watches. Now, the last one here, this is sort of a funny one. I was expecting a lot of Fliegers, but there really weren't that many. I had to do a search on the Damasko site. I had to put in pilot, and certain watches came up, and it was a chronograph. And in looking at it, as far as the pilot's watch is concerned, I'm not sure how it's a pilot's watch unless you just want to know how long you've been flying, and you can set, for the amount of gas that you burn. But usually you think of at least I do, of a pilot's watch having dual time because of the use of Zulu time. But I suppose this could be used as a pilot's watch in that sense. The Sinn watch to me is extremely interesting. It's called the EZM Air Rescue, and a couple things about it. First of all, it uses anti-fogging technology. Now, if you're involved in air rescue, in any kind of damp situation, having an anti-fogging technology, I think, would be important. But they have this thing called a pulse rotor, which is used for measuring pulses. So it's really something that would be used, I think, in an air rescue or EMC, some kind of emergency, helping people out. And the sort of the half circle from 12 to 6, sort of an inner counter on it, is used for taking the pulse and so forth. It's got an ETA 2836-2, and the Damasko, it's called the DC56, has the Valju 7750. Now the price again is a big difference here. There's the Sinn is about over $1,000 more, or €1,000 more than Damasko. Now a lot of these prices may appear to be a bit high, and I'll tell you why. Especially to Americans, if you buy these in the United States, you're not paying the VAT. They got a 20% VAT, and they list them as what they would, that including that 20% VAT, which I think is a great idea, because then again you have a realistic price. You spend a couple $1,000 on it, and they tack on another $200 to it, or $400 on it for a VAT tax, any kind of tax. It's good to know up front what you're paying. So the pilot watches, I think, here, neither one of them are really pilot watches in the sense that they have more than a single time zone. I think that the Sinn could easily use the bezel for a second time. And but anyway, these are a couple interesting watches. I think overall, in looking at them, I think the Damasko is more affordable, and I think that Sinn is more interesting in this way, is so that we get a glimpse of where they're going away from ETA. The thing that Damasko is doing, and I think that Sinn probably ought to think about it, is doing an in-house movement, so they don't have to depend on whatever the Swiss are up to. And I think Damasko has started in that round. They're nowhere near, I don't think, Damasko nor Sinn are anywhere near a chronograph, especially an automatic chronograph. But they certainly could use some of the ones that exist and some of the technology in one to make one for themselves. But we'll see what they do. Well, listen, since I don't have a dog in this fight, as they say, I'd be very interested to hear your reactions if you own a Sinn or Damasko, what you think about it, and any other information you'd like to add about it. And of course, this is an invitation to subscribe if you like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.